Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Moss. Welcome to this edition of the Moss HR Minute. I'm the co-founder and director of HR at Moss Consulting HR Services, where we provide enterprise-level HR strategy to small and mid-sized businesses across Texas and the country. At Moss Consulting, we help business owners solve problems with their people before they become big business problems, aligning recruiting, accountability, leadership, and structure so that companies can grow strategically and sustainably. Today we're filming in Houston, and I'm joined with Steven Plumb, who's a CPA. He's the founder of Clear Financial Services. Steven brings over 30 years, actually 40 years, of experience in accounting, finance, operations, SEC reporting, capital formation, and some M&A work as well. His firms work with companies often up to the $100 million in revenue area to improve performance, prepare for capital raises, strengthen internal controls, manage SEC reporting, and guide businesses through pre-IPO and M&A transitions. No big deal. Sounds really simple. His message is really simple. The game is the same, but the rules have changed. I like that. Today we're talking about what it really takes to operate at a higher financial level and how business owners know when they need more than just a bookkeeper. So here's how this works, Steven. It's very interesting. I'm going to ask you 5 hard-hitting questions that business owners are facing right now. You will answer each one in 1 Moss minute, and then we'll have follow-up to dig in deeper.
Okay.
Ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, Steven. In 1 Moss minute, what do you mean when you say the game is the same, but the rules have changed?
Well, the object is still to make money, but regulations have changed. The regulatory environment is now global. It's not local. You used to have to worry about how do I do things in my hometown. Now you got to worry about the United States. You got to worry about your state, multiple states, and it's harder and harder to fly straight, if you will. And if you've never tried to fly on your own, it takes work and you need some help, and that's where we come in.
I love it. And under 1 Moss minute, that was perfect. So can you talk to me a little bit about how investors and shareholders and maybe even board expectations have changed as of lately?
Sure. So information is instantaneous now. Mm-hmm. If you don't have all the answers, you're going to fall behind. And how do you get those answers? Where do you find information? How do you put it together? If you've never raised capital before, you don't have a clue.
Right.
But most of the people around you, your competitors, maybe they already have. Mm-hmm. And you need an advisor, a consultant to help you do that and to succeed. And we help with that as well.
I love that. Something I've been thinking about recently, just as a business owner and as a client to our vendors and to the experts that we reach out to, is that there's something very beautiful about kind of the mind share that it takes to run a business. And most of our clients are entrepreneurs, and we're good at a craft. Like, I know human resources. Our books are like, I don't know, we do the best we can. QuickBooks is very good at saying, like, anyone can do this, but once you get to a certain level, you really need strategy.
Right, and I like to run my own business as making sure I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Mm-hmm. All right? Yeah. I want to surround myself with people who know more than I do.
Yep.
And I want to be one of those tools for my clients.
Yep.
I'm smarter about certain topics than you are. Mm-hmm. So use my skills. I want to help you do more of what you do well. Mm-hmm. I like to ask people, how many of you started your own business because you like finance and accounting?
Right.
Nobody raises their hand.
Right.
Well, I'll be that expert for you.
I love it. Okay, excellent. In 1 Moss minute, what is the difference between producing a regular financial statement and using financial reporting to drive direction?
So the key is metrics.
Okay.
If you're doing accurate financial reporting, you know what your numbers are. You have confidence that the information that you are looking at is accurate. Mm-hmm. And then you can use that to determine historical trends and project what's going to happen in the future. All has to be tied to volume or some other type of information that you can use to create key performance indicators to help you guide yourself through your business. And most of my clients, they have financial information. They don't know if it's right or not.
Right.
They trust their bookkeeper or their accountant, but they don't have the skills to determine what relationships are out of whack. I can look at a financial statement and I can tell in 30 seconds whether it's accurate or not. Okay. Because certain relationships are either at whack, they line up, or they don't.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then we need to work towards getting them working properly.
Yeah, I think that's a really important note, is that just because the report came out of QuickBooks,
doesn't mean it's right.
It means almost nothing, right. Especially if, I know that when we were small and learning. I was doing all the invoicing, and then Steve eventually was doing the invoicing, but we didn't know what we were doing. We
Right.
what's a GL? That's not what we do. I know that it maps to payroll. That's what I know. But,
Right.
I think that before we put very smart people in the right spots, none of it's
And we have a phrase in accounting, garbage in, garbage out.
right.
And if you don't make sure that your information is accurate when you put it in, you're not going to be able to rely on the information.
Yeah, I think, like you said, a lot of business owners didn't start because they have a passion for finance, and you do the best that you can. And so, yeah, I think that having a strategic advisor is so important.
It's not uncommon when somebody comes to me with a problem, and it's always a problem.
Yeah,
We go back step by step through their accounting systems, back to the source documentation to understand where the problem's occurring.
yeah,
And if necessary, we'll just take over the accounting function and do it,
Yeah.
get it right, show them how it's supposed to work,
Yep.
and then hand it back to them, so that then they have a system, a repeatable system.
I
The
love
key
it.
to success in business is repeatable system.
right. Repeatable, reportable. That's what Steve always tells us.
Yeah.
It's that's hard. So, what should business owners be looking at in their business numbers before making? And I know that this is broad, but before making a strategic step, like what's important to look at?
You need to know how you make money.
Okay.
All right, what is your biggest revenue generator? What does it cost you to generate that revenue? What does it cost you to bring in customers? Let's say you get a big influx of capital and you want to expand, you want to grow, you want to bring in more sales. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm bringing you those questions. I'm not a marketing guru, but I will make sure that you have done your market research, you can take advantage of the capital that you want to deploy, that you can produce accurate information to help your investors understand where you've been and where you're going. Because you can't raise money if you can't answer those questions and show that
Right.
informationally. And I'll prepare you, much like you prepare me for this. I'll prepare my clients for how do you address investor concerns? How do you answer their questions?
Excellent. So you've helped companies raise significant capital and prepare for public markets. In one Moss Minute, what separates companies that successfully raise capitals from ones that don't?
Documentation,
Really?
honesty, and knowing what you're talking about.
Okay.
Doing the research and understanding the market you operate in and your competitive advantages, your competitive disadvantages, and what are the wins that you're facing,
Okay.
the headwinds that you have to go through to succeed. If you can't answer those things, then you're not going to raise any money. One of my good friends who I respect and I seek advice from, when he's evaluating investments, he always asks one question: tell me about your sales team.
Okay.
And if you can't answer the question, he's not interested. So if you don't have a good sales team that can go out and generate leads and produce revenue for you, you're dead in the water.
Yeah. Right. So would you consider that the biggest financial weakness that maybe that surfaces the most is not having a strong sales team, or how to know how to explain
No,
it?
that's not the greatest financial weakness. It's a weakness for success.
Okay.
The greatest financial weakness I find is just poor controls.
Okay.
They've delegated everything. The owner doesn't really understand how the accounting system works. He doesn't know how to read numbers. So the bookkeeper or the accounting staff just does what they think is best, and it's not necessarily what's best for him.
That's a really good point. And I think I don't think anyone has malintent.
No, it's not
just
malintent.
doing the best they can.
Everybody does. I mean, human nature is to do as little as possible.
Right. Right.
Body at rest stays at rest. So unless the accounting staff has the same sense of urgency that the owner does, they're not going to look at it like the owner, and nobody does.
Right. That comes up a lot. We often tell our clients, like, look, we're in fractional HR, obviously, and you can hire and I mean, no disrespect by this. It's just what you just said is you can hire the best HR director on the planet. They can be incredibly tenured. They can know everything in and out. But if they've never owned and run a business, they cannot empathize with a business owner, and
Right.
their mindset is still this is totally fine. People that own businesses, that start their own businesses and run them, there's something wrong with us, right? It is a high amount of stress. It is it's unclear every day of what, which way the business is going to go, what's going to fall through the cracks. It's constant problems. So I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with not owning a business, of course, but we tell our clients we think like owners because we are owners, and we know the soft cost of and just of the stress and of the time that you're making a decision of whether or not someone should be on your team or not. And I would imagine that you as a business owner thinking about the financial importance of going to market or I'm sorry, going to raise funds it's just deeply the stress that goes into that.
Right, and I've seen successes and I've seen failures, and they take about the same amount of work. But the successes are a lot more fun. And
yes.
I've learned a lot about how not to do things by seeing so many mistakes made. And I want my clients to avoid those mistakes. And if it's your first time to file a registration statement with the SEC, for example, to raise money, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you don't know. I've got a client going through that right now where he called me 3 weeks ago and said, well, I'm going to file a registration statement next week. I said, no, you're not. He said, well, yeah, I am. I've already written it. I said, okay, well, where are all these other pieces that go behind it? And he didn't have any answers for me. I said, so we're going to go get all those pieces put together, and then you'll file your registration stuff.
I love that. I love when you can provide value like that to people because everyone wants go, let's go fast, let's get it done. But like you said, success and failure take about the same amount of time and energy. Right. Let's just do it right, and there's reality and then there's best practice and there's something in the middle. But I love being able to give advice like that. Like, slow down, right. Let's do this right. Okay, excellent. In one Moss Minute, what changes operationally inside a company when it prepares for an SEC reporting or public listing?
So it comes down to internal controls and the speed with which you do things, because you're in a new league now. You have deadlines that are hard and fast, and there are consequences for missing them. Most of them are market-driven consequences. You lose investor confidence. The people who you rely on to buy and sell your shares in the open market will walk away from you if you're not giving consistent, accurate information. So you have to do things differently on your business to gather information faster and report on it faster.
Okay. I was part of a company as an oil and gas company out of San Antonio many, many, many years ago. And I was brought on, I was just an admin assistant. I was very young in my career, but it was like I got to watch them go from private to public, and the world changed. It was night and day from
walking into a hurricane.
It was insane. Well, and then they got through the hurricane, and then everything that was expected of us was completely different and very regimented. Totally. As I remember, I left because I was like, "This is crazy. I don't want to live this corporate life," and I don't. But it was like
one of the biggest
night and day.
fears that a company will have is, how do I report things fast enough?
Right.
Okay. Because if there's a material event that happens in your business, the SEC gives you 4 days to report it. If it happens on Friday, Monday is day 3.
Oof.
Okay, it's calendar days.
Not business days.
So how do you train your people to feed information to you fast enough that you can evaluate what's reportable and what's not?
In 4 days.
In 4 days. And it's not easy if you're a big company.
No, that's fascinating. So I guess just to kind of expand on that, tell me a little bit of why internal controls and documentation are so underestimated.
Well, errors are costly, not just from the perspective of the redoing of work, but it's an investor confidence problem. If you have to restate your financial statements because an error occurred, you lose investor confidence. You weren't honest with them. Now, you may have tried to be honest. You weren't lying. Mistakes happen. But the fact that a mistake happened means that you weren't paying close enough attention. And then the outside world will say, if you're not paying close enough attention, why should I?
Right.
And
Fair
they
enough.
walk away from your stock.
Interesting. Yeah, it is completely different. It's totally different waters than from the private world. And it should be, right? I mean, people are investing in you, and it's important. We often talk about internal clients and external clients. Our internal clients are our employees, and we work with only private companies. But then your external clients are obviously your external clients. But with these investors, that's like a different class of client that you have to report to.
I have a class of clients that are backed by private equity, for example. Now, if they don't have the public markets, they have one investor that they have to keep happy. But that one investor has the same requirements that public companies investors have. So in a lot of respects, they have to work like a public company. They don't have the external reporting, but they got to produce the same information, same timeliness, and the same responsibility to be accurate and upfront.
Fascinating. I think I want to give a shout out or kudos or just praises to any business owner who's going through that, because it's stressful. It's really stressful. And I think that most entrepreneurs that turn into company owners, business owners, you want to do a good job. You want it, but there's so many things going on at one time that to do things appropriately is hard. But that's why we need teams of people around us to support us, which is excellent. Okay, excellent. In one Moss Minute, how does a business owner know that it's time to engage in a fractional CFO instead of relying solely on their bookkeeper?
So if you're trying to get to the next level, if you want to grow your business, you want to make a 2 or 3x jump from where you are now, you need help. You need a coach who can help you get there and plot out the strategy and put the systems in place to help you succeed and reach your goal.
What does a fractional CFO provide that a controller or like a bookkeeper couldn't?
Big picture.
Okay.
I understand capital flows. I understand information flows. I understand how it all fits together. A bookkeeper usually has their head down. They're scrambling to keep cash reconciled. I'm not focused on cash being reconciled. I'm focused on your communication. I'm focused on your message. What's the story you're trying to tell? And do your numbers back it up? And what numbers do you need to tell your story? Because your bookkeeper may not even be producing the information you need to tell your story. So how do we get that? How do we go back in time and pull that information together and compare that to current market information? And those are the pieces that your bookkeeper or your controller are not focused on.
Got it. Love it. Steven, thank you so much for bringing clarity to a topic that business owners either avoid or oversimplify just by out of not knowing, not on purpose, of course. Financial discipline, capital readiness, and SEC level rigor are specialized disciplines, and they require experienced leadership, which you provide. At Moss Consulting Services, we focus on the people side of growth: recruiting, accountability, structure, leadership development, and scalable HR systems. Steven and Clear Financial Solutions focus on the financial side: capital formation, SEC reporting, M&A structuring, forecasting, and financial operations management. Those are two very different but very deeply connected disciplines. Strong companies align both people and money. It's hand in hand. Most of the time, human capital is the top line item on their budget. Right.
You can't succeed without good people.
Correct. Financial clarity supports better hiring decisions. Financial clarity supports better hiring decisions. People strategy supports financial performance. When HR and finance operate in a partnership, but within their own lanes, businesses scale and create greater confidence. So before we wrap up, Steven, tell our viewers where they can connect with you, who you serve best, and how a company knows it's time to hire you.
Sure. So you can reach me on my office number, 713-780-0806, or email Steven, Steven, at clearfinancials.com. There's an S at the end of financials.
Okay.
You need to hire me when you're struggling to get your financial reporting accurate. Say your bank is asking you for information and you're missing the deadlines that they give you to report, call me.
Okay.
We can help you figure out why. Let's say you're talking to outside investors, you want to raise some money. How do you position your company? How do you produce information for them? Call me. Those are good indicators that you need help.
Will you help a client who's interested in raising money or get with an investor, but to identify a good or a bad deal for them?
Certainly.
Okay.
We'll help you evaluate the structure and give you our perspective on what's a good deal and a bad deal. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've got after the fact.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, I wish you called me before you closed. We could have structured this differently and saved you a lot of trouble and money.
Call Steven. Call Steven with questions. If you're a growing company that needs structured HR leadership to support that financial growth, visit mossconsulting.com to learn about how Moss Consulting HR Services supports founders and the people that support them. And we will see you on the next episode of the Moss HR Minute.